looking at a text that makes, honestly, a pretty surprising connection. It takes this ancient biblical battle charge and links it directly to, of all things, modern executive boardrooms. It's a really compelling look at what it actually means to stand your ground when the world is constantly pulling you in a dozen different directions. Now, to get to the heart of this, we really have to start with a rather profound question. What happens when a victorious nation forgets who fought its battles? It turns out the pressures to just blend in and compromise, well, they haven't really changed from ancient times to today's high-stakes world. It's a journey from the past to the present, showing us how the temptation to just assimilate is basically a tale as old as time. Our story today centers on the biblical book of Joshua, specifically chapter 23. So I want you to imagine an aging leader, bowed with years of faithful service, addressing a nation that has finally, literally finally, found rest. The roar of battle has totally faded, the land lies quiet from its enemies, and Joshua calls together the elders, the judges, and the officers of Israel. But here's the catch. He doesn't speak like some proud conqueror boasting about his own military genius. Instead, tracing Israel's journey from crossing the Jordan River to conquering the land and finally becoming a nation at rest, he makes a totally critical point. This peace, it was not won by human hands alone. Joshua is pointing every single eye back to the fact that from the very moment they stepped into that riverbed until the day they finally rested, it was God who drove out mighty kings and fought for his people. The victory belonged entirely to a higher power. Notice how geographical landmarks are used here as these incredibly powerful metaphors for time and promise. On one side, we have the Jordan River. That's a symbol of miraculous past deliverance, representing a God who makes paths where none seem possible. Then, on the other side, stretching westward, is the Great Sea. This endless horizon pictures the full, wide inheritance pledged to them. It's this beautiful contrast, right? The solid stones of past faithfulness up against the boundless waters of future grace. But, as you might guess, with this secured land comes a pretty weighty condition. Joshua issues a very clear directive to the Israelites. They must courageously keep the law and absolutely refuse to blend in with the surrounding nations. I mean, they aren't even supposed to speak the names of their false gods, let alone bow down to them. The call is simple but incredibly demanding. Watch your lives closely and do not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. So there are two very distinct paths laid out here. On one side, holding fast to their faith brings supernatural victory, where just one person can chase 1,000, walking in continuous blessing. But on the other side, drifting aside and allowing cultural compromise to creep in brings absolute disaster. And let's be honest with ourselves, we all know how easy it is to just kind of drift when we get comfortable, right? If they grow comfortable with foreign ways, those very nations will become snares, traps, scourges on their sides, and literally thorns in their eyes, causing them to perish from this good land. Which brings us to a pivotal quote that anchors Joshua's dire warning in unshakable historical reality. He tells them, and I quote, "Not one thing has failed of all the good things which the Lord your God spoke concerning you." Joshua is basically using their own lived experience as undeniable proof. Just as every single promised blessing came true without fail, they need to understand that every warning of compromise is going to prove equally true if they turn away. Now, this isn't just an isolated incident locked away in ancient history. There is a timeless thread going on here. This exact same choice, the tension between cultural compromise and steadfast faithfulness, it echoes through the lives of generation after generation. It's a universal test of loyalty. History is absolutely full of individuals who faced immense pressure to assimilate, but they chose loyalty over comfort. We're talking about Daniel praying in the courts of Babylon despite royal decrees, early believers in the Roman Empire obeying God over men, right up through the royal courts of Europe. It proves that one person who really holds fast can stand completely unshaken against the pressure of the entire world. Let's actually zoom in on one of these figures. Queen Jeanne d'Albret of Navarre paid a massive personal price to openly confess her faith. During some incredibly dangerous times, she point-blank refused to hand over faithful preachers. And what's just amazing is she essentially turned her entire kingdom into a fortress of faith, despite the superpowers of Europe breathing down her neck. She opened her lands as a safe refuge for believers and completely dedicated herself to ensuring the gospel was translated so ordinary people could read it. Even when danger literally drove her from her home, she did not compromise. No way. Similarly, we have King Gustavus Adolphus of Sweden.
historically known as the Lion of the North. He viewed his earthly crown merely as a service to a higher, eternal king. He famously began each day in prayer, led his troops into battle while singing psalms, and fought not just for an earthly empire, but to actually guard the faith for an eternal one. That level of conviction, it's just incredible to think about.
But here's the thing. This battleground against compromise hasn't vanished. It's just changed locations. The exact same thread of faithfulness stretches right into the diverse, incredibly high-stakes arenas of our modern world today. Today, these arenas look wildly different. We're talking about the high-tech executive boardrooms of Intel Corporation, all the way to the middle of the open ocean on fishing vessels and maritime aid ships. So let's see exactly how this ancient mindset applies right here, right now. The absolutely crucial point here is that true values belong everywhere. Take Pat Gelsinger's leadership at Intel as living proof of this. In an industry that is so often driven entirely by financial gain and rapid technological advancement, Gelsinger treats his work as a literal calling to live out godly values. He shows us that steadfast faith belongs just as much in corporate laboratories and executive boardrooms as it does in a place of worship. Meanwhile, that metaphorical Great Sea we discussed earlier, it's made literal through modern maritime leaders. We see Joan Maxwell, who builds fishing vessels and goes out of her way to ensure Bibles are placed in the hands of new owners, caring for her staff both practically and spiritually. Then there's Captain Christian, who rose to become a master of ships carrying aid across the oceans. They prove that the Great Sea still bears witness to messengers who absolutely refuse to compromise their calling, even in the relentless pace of the modern economy. So that brings us to, honestly, the hardest question of all. How do we handle our own quiet tests of compromise? You know, it's easy to look at kings and CEOs, but what happens to us when deadlines press hard? What happens when the world offers us an easier, blurred path instead of the hard truth? The ancient warnings still holds up. Whatever we put in place of our core convictions will eventually become a snare to us. Fortunately, the blueprint to combat this is actually quite simple. Number 1, remember your past deliverances, your Jordan River moments. 2, look ahead to the wide, promised grace of your Great Sea. 3, walk true without turning to the left or right. And finally, resolutely refuse the trap of compromise that constantly threatens to turn your blessings into loss. It all comes down to a plea for courage, really. The strength to maintain a steady, careful devotion so we can leave a strong witness for whoever comes next. It's about choosing conviction over convenience and asking for the fortitude to keep our hearts from every single trap of compromise. So as we trace this unbroken thread from ancient deserts right into modern boardrooms, it leaves you with one undeniable question. In the quiet tests of your own life, when the pressure mounts, what legacy of faithfulness are you building right now? The blueprint is there, but the choice is entirely yours.